Natural selection spent 4 billion years engineering the ultimate survival machine, refining our ancestors to withstand ice ages, outrun apex predators, and endure brutal famines, only to leave us completely incapacitated because we remembered a mildly embarrassing social interaction from 2012 while trying to fall asleep. If evolution is a ruthless optimization algorithm that prunes any trait wasting precious metabolic energy, then human emotional architecture is a catastrophic system failure. We experience paralyzing grief that weakens our immune systems, romantic obsession that destroys our decision-making, and existential dread that prevents us from getting out of bed. A cold, calculating survival machine should simply calculate utility, seek resources, and reproduce without wasting calories on crying over spilled milk or weeping during a fictional movie. Yet we are saddled with a chemical cocktail that constantly sabotages our immediate self-interest. Biologists have long struggled to explain why natural selection did not simply program us to be highly efficient sociopathic robots. Instead, we are left with biological baggage that seems actively designed to get us killed. This brings us to a bizarre paradox. If these agonizing, inconvenient feelings are genuinely useless, they should have been weeded out of our gene pool millennia ago. The fact that you can still feel your stomach sink when you get a vague text from your boss proves that these psychological glitches are not accidental bugs at all. There is a hidden, cold-blooded mathematical reason why your brain forces you to suffer through this useless emotional torture. It is a biological hack, a ruthless structural mechanism that we will uncover, which actually prevents the entire framework of human civilization from instantly collapsing into chaos. But to understand why your brain deliberately tortures you, we must first look at the strangest physical betrayal your body can perform, the act of painting a bright red target directly on your own face when you make a mistake. Charles Darwin was notoriously obsessed with blushing, calling it the most peculiar and the most human of all expressions. From a purely tactical standpoint, blushing is an absolute disaster. When you commit a social gaffe, violate a communal norm, or get caught in a lie, your sympathetic nervous system triggers involuntary vasodilation, rushing warm blood straight to your face. You have just announced your guilt, weakness, and vulnerability to the entire tribe, eliminating any chance of playing it cool or lying your way out of trouble. In the brutal landscape of the Pleistocene epoch, where reputation was a matter of life or death, advertising your failures to potential rivals should have been an evolutionary dead end. Yet this physiological betrayal is highly preserved in the human genome. The secret lies in the game theory of early human survival. Within a small, highly interdependent hunter-gatherer group, a member who could lie without physical consequence was an existential threat to everyone else. If you stole another hunter's meat and felt absolutely nothing, the tribe would eventually find out and either exile or murder you. Exile was a guaranteed death sentence. Blushing evolved as an involuntary, costly signal of submission and honesty. By turning your face bright red, your body communicates a rapid, unforgeable apology. It tells the group that you recognize the rules, that you feel bad for breaking them, and that you are still a safe bet for future cooperation. It is a biological peace offering that restores social equilibrium far faster than verbal promises, which can easily be faked. This means embarrassment is not a design flaw. It is a cheap insurance policy against tribal banishment. Your body willingly sacrifices your short-term dignity to secure your long-term survival, proving that the brain is far more interested in keeping you integrated within the collective than keeping you happy. But this survival by humiliation mechanism is merely a minor prelude to a much darker, highly expensive emotional tax: the devastating mystery of grief. Grief is perhaps the most biologically expensive emotion in our psychological repertoire. When a close companion dies, the surviving human often experiences a profound physical shutdown. Appetite vanishes, sleep patterns disintegrate, cognitive function declines, and the immune system weakens to a level that leaves the individual highly vulnerable to pathogens. From a strictly selfish evolutionary perspective, this is madness. The dead individual is gone and can no longer assist in gathering resources or defending territory. Wasting scarce metabolic energy mourning them offers zero immediate utility. If natural selection were a simple cost-benefit spreadsheet, the survivors should instantly reset their emotional baseline, find a replacement ally, and continue foraging. To understand why we do not do this, we must examine the economic concept of commitment devices. In game theory, a commitment device is an arrangement that makes a future course of action locked in, even if that action becomes highly costly. Economists note that human cooperation relies entirely on trust, but rational agents are inherently untrustworthy because they will always defect the moment a better deal presents itself. If your hunting partner knows you will abandon them the second they get injured, they will never trust you with their life.
Love and friendship are irrational by design. They act as biological smart contracts. By hardwiring your brain to experience agonizing grief upon the loss of an ally, evolution forces you to value that relationship far beyond its immediate transactional utility. The sheer pain of potential loss is the collateral you post to prove your loyalty. You cannot fake the capacity for grief. Therefore, your ability to suffer becomes your most valuable social credential. It signals to others that you are capable of deep, irrational commitment, making you a highly desirable partner. The paralyzing pain of loss is the unavoidable tax we pay for the ability to cooperate on a massive scale. However, this social glue still does not explain the most terrifying emotional byproduct of our advanced brains: the sudden, paralyzing realization of our own insignificance. To find the origin of existential dread, we must look at a massive evolutionary accident that occurred roughly 2 million years ago. Our ancestors began developing an abnormally large prefrontal cortex, the neural hardware responsible for advanced planning, abstract thought, and future simulation. This was an incredibly powerful tool for tracking migratory herds, predicting seasonal changes, and preparing for harsh winters. But this cognitive superpower came with a catastrophic, uninvited side effect. If you can simulate next week's hunt, you can also simulate next year, next decade, and eventually your own inevitable demise. Humans became the only organisms on Earth capable of projecting their minds forward to witness their own absolute annihilation. This realization created an immediate evolutionary crisis. A creature fully aware of its own mortality and insignificance is prone to crippling panic, which severely hampers the daily drive to forage, mate, and survive. To prevent this cognitive hardware from melting down under the weight of its own brilliance, our minds had to develop a sophisticated defense mechanism. Anthropologists call this terror management theory. Because we could not physically escape death, we began building elaborate psychological fortresses to shield ourselves from the void. We invented complex mythologies, rigid social hierarchies, national identities, and cultural monuments designed to outlast our fleeting physical existence. We poured immense resources into building pyramids, writing epics, and accumulating symbolic wealth, all to convince ourselves that we are part of something permanent and meaningful. Existential dread is not an evolutionary adaptation. It is the friction heat generated by our massive brains running a simulation they were never designed to handle. We are biological computers struggling to run high-level consciousness software on primate hardware. This psychological crisis did not destroy us. Instead, it became the primary engine of human culture, forcing us to build civilizations just to distract ourselves from the terrifying quiet of the cosmos. This brings us back to the cold-blooded mathematical truth behind our most irrational feelings. We are not highly optimized survival machines operating in a vacuum. We are deeply social animals trapped in a complex web of mutual dependency. The emotions that make the least sense on an individual level are precisely the ones that make human society possible. Without the embarrassing burn of blushing, we would have no reliable way to signal genuine remorse, destroying trust within our groups. Without the agonizing weight of grief, we could never form the irrational bonds required to build families, tribes, and nations. And without the haunting specter of existential dread, we would have had absolutely no reason to build the cultures, arts, and institutions that define our species. Evolution did not design you to be happy, comfortable, or logically consistent. It designed you to pass on your genetic material at all costs. To achieve this, it installed a highly sophisticated, painful security system within your own subconscious. It turned your own mind into a hostage negotiator, using distress, anxiety, and longing to keep you aligned with the group. When you lie awake at night cringing at a decade-old social blunder or weeping over a fictional tragedy, you are not experiencing a system failure. You are witnessing the ancient, relentless algorithm of natural selection working exactly as intended. It is reminding you that you are not an independent entity, but a single node in a vast, interconnected network that requires your compliance to survive. The ultimate irony of the human condition is that our most foolish, inconvenient, and painful emotions are the very things that rescue us from being mere beasts.
We suffer through these irrational feelings because they are the exact price of admission for our humanity, proving that the only thing more dangerous than feeling too much is the terrifying silent efficiency of feeling nothing at all.